Professor of History at the University of Berkeley in California. Usama, thank you very much for talking to us this evening. This is Antony Blinken's fourth tour of the Middle East. What's different about this trip, and what in particular is on the agenda this time?
What's on the agenda this time, it seems to me, is that Antony Blinken is coming in to try to figure out what to do with a clearly failed Israeli attempt to crush the Palestinian people. And he is lining up the various Arab states, the various Arab allies of the United States, in an effort to try to figure out some kind of coherent path forward, because thus far, as everyone can see, the situation in Gaza is intolerable. It's created, as your previous guest just said, it's created a huge amount of uproar and outrage and dismay at U.S. policy. And I think the United States is trying to figure out how to end this horrific conflict.
And Usama, a top Hezbollah commander has been killed, as we've been hearing, during this latest tour of Antony Blinken. How much do you think this will add to the concern that this conflict will escalate into a wider conflict in the region? How much of a concern is that for Antony Blinken, for the US?
Well, we don't know how much more it's going to escalate, but we do know that the situation, I think that what's happening now is that Blinken is trying to figure out a way to de-escalate the situation. But the problem is, of course, the US has backed Israel unconditionally in this horrific war against the Palestinians in Gaza, in this genocide against the Palestinians in Gaza, and people around the Middle East, including the peoples in states that are allies of the United States, are overwhelmingly opposed to this genocide, as are most people around the world. So it's not clear what's going to happen.
I did want to move on a little bit and talk about the ICJ. The International Court of Justice will be holding hearings on Thursday and Friday on a case brought by South Africa accusing Israel of genocide. Now, the US has already dismissed the case as meritless, counterproductive. What are your expectations of this ICJ meeting?
Well, I mean, the U.S., of course, has dismissed it because the U.S. backs Israel unconditionally. And if you actually read the 84-page brief and you see the details and the extraordinary level of detail of the South African case, it is a sort of a case that is going to proceed. I'm not a lawyer, of course, I'm not a judge, so I don't know exactly what's going to happen in the ICJ, but I do know that it's the International Court of Justice, but I do know that already Turkey, Bolivia, if I'm not mistaken, Jordan, Malaysia have all supported the South African case. It's going to proceed, and whatever happens with the actual sort of ruling of the ICJ, this just adds yet more evidence that the world, the international community, is completely and utterly opposed to this genocide against the Palestinian people. And again, I urge everyone to go read the South African brief. It's 84 pages, it's available, and the case is actually fairly damning.
Usama Makdisi, thank you very much for your time this evening.